Hey everybody, it's good to be with you. I'm here with a friend, mentor, Reverend Bruce Reyes-Chow, a Presbyterian pastor and the author of Everything Good About God is True. Bruce, thanks for talking with me.
It's good to be with you. Can't wait to see you all in less than a month.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it also. Your book, I think, is important and funny and beautiful. And I'm excited for our congregation to be reading it this Lent. For those who don't know anything about your book, that haven't read it, tell us what it's about, why you wrote it, who it's for.
Well, it'll be the best thing you've ever read in your entire life. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I grew up in the Presbyterian Church USA, born and raised, but over time have always had to choose to be Presbyterian. Have always had to choose to follow my faith. I've always felt like faith passed down by osmosis wasn't really going to be sustainable. It was like give you roots, but it didn't really help you get anywhere. And a publisher came along and asked, after I'd written this kind of faith montage, this faith statement, if I could turn that into a book. Because what's been happening in the Christian church is this thing called deconstruction, which is really helpful for a lot of folks, especially those who come out of a more kind of conservative evangelical space. They're discovering that theology doesn't hold up anymore. And so they're deconstructing that. And they asked me, they said, we don't want to put another book out on deconstruction. It's good, it's useful, but what's next? And so they asked if I would, this kind of audacious project to write a book on Christianity. Now, well, it could be perceived as like progressive Christianity, whatever, but it was always just the faith that I've known. And so they asked me to write it. So what I've tried to do in Everything Good About God is True is to give a version of the gospel that is interwoven between a personal and communal relationship with Jesus, a calling of understanding who God is in our life, this weaving with justice and peace and love and hope, and so that there isn't this kind of bifurcated faith that many have had, but it's just this to find for me find security in the chaos and the complexity, and to just embrace it, love it, see it as life, and choose to follow the ways that it challenges us to live in the world. So that's what it's about. It certainly um, faces tension with what's happening in our country and what kind of Christianity is often the default, which is a version that I disagree with, and and probably many of you do. This is an alternative to that. And so I'm hoping that it gives some courage to claim that alternative and share it in new ways.
Yeah, we love how you talk about faith, the subtitle, choosing faith, that being a Christian now more than ever is a choice in
Yeah.
this country, and that faith isn't passed down by osmosis. I think you said it's not through potlucks. I
Yep.
remember that from the
Yep.
book. But we actually have to articulate our faith in a positive way.
Yep.
And part of what you say in that is you are a theologian. All of us are theologians, and I know that our kids here at Fairmount have been doing that every Sunday of answering different faith questions, claiming that they are theologians. Why is that important? Why
Why?
do we
Yeah.
need to be able to move beyond deconstruction, articulate what we really do believe? Why can't we just go to church on Sundays and be nice people? Isn't that enough?
Yeah, yeah. Well, to be clear, I'm not anti-potluck, but that's not the only thing we should do. I want to make sure, like, they're going to throw me out as soon as I get there. But yeah, there's a section at the beginning that is this idea that theologian, like, you wouldn't go out and just put that on your card and say, "Hello, I'm Bruce Reyes-Chow, I'm a theologian," right? You're not trying to laud it over people, but there is a calling for us to wrestle with God, to think about who God is in our life, to have that study of God, and like that that's all of our tasks, because if we don't, then we leave it to others to determine for ourselves what our relationship with God is, and we grow by that individual discernment and communal. But if we don't struggle with the individual, like, what does it mean for me and us to try to figure out who God hopes us to be and become? That's and you'll get to another part of the book that talks about that the plan that God has isn't this set plan. The plan is kind of converging with our discovery, kind of our collaboration with God, and we got to engage in that, and that's theological work. And so being in a Christian space, well, all the other stuff is great, right? Again, all the social, the things that kind of create community are great, but at the core and the center has to be a commitment to figuring out who God intends us to be and become as a community, which is a unique space in a particular congregation or part of a larger denomination. That's that particular calling that I think we all know is there, and we're all there for it, but now we have to actually do it. And so that's what I'm hoping this will kind of prompt folks to do in a accessible, fun way.
Yeah. So then if we do it, if we
Mhm.
actually think about and say what we believe, like what do you hope comes out of it? What hope do you think this book offers for what the church might become?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a very personal hope, right? That faith becomes life-giving and not a burden or a duty or an obligation. That there's something about the transformative, repeating nature of being involved in Christian community that feeds my soul. The second part is, though, the realities are that unless this version or similar versions of the Christian faith are shared more widely in the world, we are abdicating our political space and our political voice to a version of the gospel that is built on division and hate and dehumanization and all the things that we intellectually and probably really actually believe, but we have a really hard time articulating that in the political public sphere like we used to. I mean, I think there are moments in our time as the church, we have stood up for what we believed was right and good. And I think we have to claim some of that without falling into, like, we don't want theocracy. We don't want that. But the church does have a voice in fighting for the poor and those who are disenfranchised and oppressed and marginalized, all the things that intellectually we believe to be true. And I think choosing to do that again is really important so that we actually then challenge ourselves to go out and do the work in the world. So it's, again, personal, feeding, and changing the world for the better.
Yeah, and knowing why we're doing it.
Hmm.
Being able to express that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bruce, for
Yeah.
introducing the book to us a little bit. We're really looking forward to having you here in April, and we'll see you soon.
All right. We'll see you.